Hi, I'm Annie, and I'd like to talk to you about this modern pulp magazine I've recently read, and that is a Black Cat Weekly. Not to be confused with the magazine The Black Cat magazine that ran from 1895 till somewhere in the 1920s or so, if I remember correctly. That is an entirely different magazine. But this one, of which I am talking about, is the first issue of the Black Cat Weekly. And this issue is still available on the Black Cat Weekly website. I will put a link to it in the description box below. Anyway, this first issue was published in September 2021, but Black Cat Weekly, or the Black Cat magazine, was the website was around for a while before they started this weekly magazine. They sold on their website all of these pulp novels and short stories and novellas and novelettes separately. But in 2021, they decided it would be fun to start a weekly magazine so you can get a subscription as well. So I thought that was a very good idea, as this issue not only contains modern pulp short stories, but also older pulp short stories. And there are not only short stories in it, but also 2 full-length novels and a novelette, or a novella. I think a novella. Anyway, that is, I found it a highly interesting idea to combine old and new pulp fiction in one magazine. But for this review, I've only read the short stories that were published after 2000. Anyway, so what about these new pulp stories? Are they up to snuff? Well, I can tell you I've enjoyed most of them. And the ones that I didn't enjoy, they were equally well written, but they were just not for me. The first story, Remission by Michael Bracken, was first published in 2018. And I found this the best in the magazine. It really feels like a 1940s hard-boiled noir detective story with smoking dames, hardened criminals, and a drinking gumshoe. Don't want to say too much about the story, as I don't want to spoil it for you. But I like the way Bracken connects certain things. I found this a highly entertaining story. Then A Key for Rebecca by Hal Charles. Well, this wasn't for me. Not that it was badly written, it was excellently written, but it was some kind of riddle or a puzzle, and I am just not a puzzling type of person. Aurovia's famous Lodge case by Frank Lowell Nelson was first published in 2021, and I found this to be an excellent story, a solid story. It's about Sexton, who is a journalist, and this man named Clark, and they investigate a crime or an accident. Well, they don't know if it was an accident or if it was a crime. But anyway, it's set in the late 1800s, and somebody switched fake gunpowder for the real stuff. So it's up to them to find out if this was done by accident or there was foul play involved. So I found this interesting. And a nice touch, I found that Sherlock Holmes is mentioned in this story. Not that Sherlock Holmes plays a part in this story, but his method is mentioned. And Clark tells Sexton that he sometimes uses Sherlock Holmes' methods, but he prefers the psychological approach of solving a crime. So what are the motives and the feelings, and what is the of the criminals, and what is the psychology behind the crime? As this story is set in the late 1800s, there are of course some stereotypical views of women in it, although it is quite recently written, but this is a character and not the writer, as well, views on women, about women, were different in the late 1800s. That's just a matter of fact. So, and it's not surprising that a character in a story that is set in the late 1800s has these old-fashioned views. The last modern short story in this first issue of the Black Cat Weekly is Haver, written by Brian Everson, and he wrote that back in 2018. And I found this a highly entertaining story. I found this an excellent story. It is about this man, Festus, and he is a resident of a mental institution, and Haver is his doctor. And the only thing Festus does, he is not the talkative kind of person, but the only thing he does in this institution is to make charcoal drawings of his studio where he used to work and used to live, and all kinds of things happen. And I found this a really nice concept, as Haver tries out to help Festus and tries to find out what can cure him and how to help him, as he doesn't want to talk. And modern therapy is all about talking. If you don't want to talk, well, there's not many people can help you with your problems. So Haver is very interested in helping Festus. And it is very well written by Everson. Throughout the story, I want to know how this is going to continue and how is this going to end. Other stories are the case of the knockout bullet, and you may guess from the title who wrote this full-length novel. I think it is a full-length novel. I'm not sure. Could also be a short story. Anyway, it is written by the famous mystery detective writer Erle Stanley Gardner, and he wrote it back in 1956. And then there is a more recent short story, Hand in Glove, by James Holding, and he wrote that back in 1973. Then there is The Skull of the Walzing Clown by Harry Stephen Keeler, and he wrote that back in 1935. Then there is another story by Ralph Milne, and that is Vallisneria, Madness, and Milne wrote it back in 1937. Last Call for Doomsday, I love that title. I think that's one of the best pulpiest titles I've recently come across. That was written by S.M. Tenneshaw, and he wrote that, or she, I'm not sure. Anyway, that story was written back in 1956. And the last story is Words of the Imperium by Keith Laumer, and he wrote that back in 1962. And to all of this, I'd like to add my compliments to the illustrators and graphic designers who made the covers of the Black Cat Weekly magazine, because they look absolutely fantastic. They have a modern feel to it, but also have the atmosphere of the old pulps, if you know what I mean. Well, there is a link in the description box to the Black Cat Weekly website, and you can see all of these wonderful covers, and you can buy all of these wonderful collections in ebook format. I don't think there is a printed version of it, but I can highly recommend Black Cat Weekly. So there was another Garbaugust recommendation for you if you want to read modern pulp stories in August, because Garbaugust is all about a reading event that is all about the reading of pulp fiction. And this is hosted by Ollie over at Criminali, and there are a bunch of co-hosts as well. So do let me know if you are intending to participate in this wonderful, trashy, pulpy, but highly entertaining readathon reading event. I'd love to hear what you are all reading. And if you have a BookTube channel, don't forget to link all of us, hosts and co-hosts of this fun reading event. I can't stop saying it. That's fun. Anyway, I hope you will join us and link us if you have a review of a pulpy novel or a pulpy short story. Because, well, I'd love to see all of your videos about them. As always, thanks for watching.